So, almost all of the Geneva Conventions and other agreements that prohibit the use of chemical weapons, as have been used in Syria in recent years, came out of World War I, where chemical weapons were developed for effective use. I mentioned that they poured boiling oil on each other, but that's of limited effect. You're pouring it on the guy who's trying to come in. There's a walled city in German, Rotenburg, and it still has the wall, and you go through the front gate, and there's a big gargoyle grotesquerie thing right over the gate with an open mouth. You know why it's there? It's because that's where they poured the oil into people who were trying to come through the gate who weren't supposed to be there. Mustard gas and other chemical weapons were another matter entirely, because they could be blown around by the wind, and they could affect tens and dozens and hundreds of people. And what mustard gas did, as you inhaled it, was burn out your lungs, and you coughed up your viscera and died. It was a hideous, horrible way to go. And if you have friends who own gas masks, because it's edgelordy and cool, I had one who had 2 gas masks, they're always told don't put them on. It doesn't matter how much they've been cleaned. If they're actually from military use, there still could be mustard gas lingering around inside there that you can never get out, and it will harm you tremendously. And so they hang them on the walls. And they go, oh man, it's cool. So that takes us not only to those scenes from Tolkien, where technology, the gunpowder, suddenly enables this massive army of the kind assembled during World War II to fight in the trenches, just millions and millions and millions of people. It takes us from that to the Wilfred Owen poem, Dulce Et Decorum Est, because there is a central stanza in which he talks about the release of mustard gas, and it goes like this. It's going to be hard to read outside, but you know what? I'll just deal with the lighting as best I can. So, end of the first stanza. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, dead even to the boots. The hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering, like a man on fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. So there's the description of a gas attack, and men trying to fit on their gas masks hurriedly, and most of them do, but the one or ones who don't are surrounded as if in a sea by the gas. There is nowhere to escape. Even if you could do some Matrix-style dodging, it's all around you. There's nothing you could do. And it seeps into your lungs. You can't help but breathe it, and it kills you from the inside in the most horribly painful way you can imagine. If, in some smothering dreams, you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him into, and watch his white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cut of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friends, you would not tell with such high zest to children, ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, Dulce et decorum est for patria mori, which the note at the bottom says, fitting and pleasing is it for you to die for your country? It's noteworthy that, if you look at the Wikipedia page, Tolkien avoided service by finishing his degree, or in order to finish his degree, and then he was noted to have said that he was getting pressure from family to go ahead and serve. Why? Because of this notion that it was a good and noble thing to serve and even die for Britain. The horrors that he witnessed, that they all witnessed, gave rise to enormously, I hate this word, impactful art. Poems like The Soldier and Dulce Et Decorum Est, artists like Rupert Brooke and Wilfred Owen. And yeah, you can do a lot worse than to think of The Lord of the Rings as the product of Tolkien's experience in World War I. You don't have to read it in terms of his biography, but you can talk about it in terms of culture. How was Europe and European art changed by what happened in that war? And what happened in that war had a lot to do with technology and its application to military circumstances. So I asked you just speculate. That's what you're doing in discussions. There's no right or wrong answer necessarily. I'm interested in what you think. I'm just asking you to speculate on what some connections between what happened in those scenes and maybe what happens in the poems. Anyway, just some rambling thoughts from me. I'll post some others on upcoming discussions assignments just to help engage you in conversation. And if anything I say here prompts questions from you, please go to the Q&A forums at the top of the discussions page, and I'll be happy to answer them as best I can. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you online.